Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Otsego City Council meeting. Tonight is Tuesday, May 26th. Audra, can you have the record show that our attorney is online, our city planner is present, our city engineer is present. We are, say all council members are present, but they aren't. Council member Lund will be late, correct, Audra? And our assistant city administrator is absent this evening, and our administrator is here. Is she online? Just no. Okay. We can't see everybody, so I want to make sure I'm calling out who's here. At this time, I will ask you all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our first item of business this evening is our open forum. This is the portion of the meeting where you can come to the podium, state your name and address, and limit comments to 5 minutes or less. Would anyone like to speak at this time?
Hello, Council Mayor. Jeannie Holland, Ray County Commissioner. I am here tonight to do a special thank you to Senator Lucero and then also Roxanne Williams. We passed the HOA bill. Senator Lucero did so much work on that bill. It took 2 years. You know, they say the wheels of government go very slow, and we saw that happen. But it was a huge impact for the residents of Otsego. And so to explain the bill and to for us to say thank you to Senator Lucero, I want him to come up right now and give his thoughts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council, city staff, and the great residents of Otsego, both here and watching online. I am Eric Lucero. I'm the senator for the area, and I wanted to stop by this evening to give a legislative update. The legislature just ended here 2 weeks ago yesterday, and that concluded the 2026 legislative session. Thank you to Commissioner Holland for those very kind words. I'm deeply appreciative of that, and I will start actually with that in the legislative update. One of the biggest accomplishments this year was the HOA reform bill, Senate File 1750. It was a multi-year work effort that finally came to culmination again just a few weeks ago and signed into law by Governor Walz. The amount of people that were involved in this was amazing. And there were numerous stories, as the council well knows, that included situations from Otsego. We had incredible help, and I deeply appreciate Commissioner Holland for her efforts on this, being involved in the community, coming down to the Capitol numerous times, phone calling and communicating with me on this issue, and a lot of effort. And we have one of the constituents here, Roxanne, who's also from Otsego, also deeply involved in this. And so whether it be those that are here or the many across the community and the state who helped in this effort, it was amazing. But yeah, finally got it across the board. And so some of the things that I can't touch on the whole bill. It was many dozens of pages, but it was long overdue. So a handful of highlights include limits on excessive fines and fees, strengthening conflict of interest rules, improving transparency and homeowners' rights, protecting homeowners from unfair legal charges, establishing a path to dissolve inactive or unnecessary HOAs, prevents forced HOA creation by local governments. And what that is there was a provision that was offered by Senator Rasmussen last year, who worked with the League of Minnesota Cities to come up with verbiage that would prevent local municipalities from requiring amenities that would necessitate the formation of an HOA as part of development approvals. Again, that was verbiage that Senator Rasmussen worked with the League of Minnesota Cities to come up with. Protects homeowners from retaliation when they have a complaint or sometimes even a question. We heard some horror stories of retaliation, and requires clear disclosures for buyers. So again, there's many more than that, but those are just some of the highlights, long overdue and very appreciative for all the effort. And you may have seen the headlines this session. Not a lot got done. Not a lot got done because of the contention and the divisive nature of an election year, a lame duck governor. Every seat in the legislature, both the House and the Senate, are up for re-election. But this is one of those initiatives that had no partisanship. It was very bipartisan across the board because it was recognized that reform is needed. Some other things that did pass, though, and very thankful for, are the vehicle tab fee. So if you've gone to renew your license tabs, you may have been shocked at the sticker price of the renewal of some of that. That is a direct result in 2023, when Democrats had a trifecta, they increased the vehicle tab fees. The enactment date wasn't until this year, and so that's why we're not seeing it, the pain when having to write the check when you're renewing the tabs until this year. As a result, there was complaints across the board. And so one of the things that Republicans were able to negotiate was a 1-year moratorium. So next year, there'll be a 1-year moratorium on that. In my opinion, that clearly is not good enough. It needs to be permanent, but that's being in the minority in the Senate. We've only got so much leverage that we can wield. But that was one of the things we were able to, with the help of the House Republicans, to get across the finish line. Fraud has been among the headlines that we've seen over and over again. Billions of dollars of fraud. People are being taxed to death, and then to see headlines of that being stolen by people committing fraud is very angering. So the Office of the Legislative Auditor, the Office of Independent, so what's OIG? Office of Independent Inspector General. I'm forgetting acronyms now. But anyway, the point is, it's an independent office that has law enforcement authority. So they're going to be able to be an independent office that goes to the state agencies and looks at some of the records and is able to verify, as we would expect in the financial audit, those best practices that we've seen, stories, including whistleblower stories, that clearly were not only violating accounting best practices, but outright activity that is borderline questionable. As I'm being very polite here saying these words, but it's very frustrating to say the least. So this is something that was very, very successful in passing. Another would be defending our Second Amendment. There was multiple efforts to try to pass legislation that just defies common sense and in fact defies the Constitution. Among the provisions that was attempted to be pushed was limitations on the size of magazines. Retroactive. So those who had purchased a firearm 10 years ago that had a magazine capacity of 15 or 17 rounds, something like that, you would have to either register that and pay an annual fee to have the privilege of owning that, something that you purchased legally, or you'd have to destroy it. And it's unbelievable, some of the far-reaching proposals that were being put out there, but very thankful that we were able to stop that. One of the very heartbreaking things that passed, a $600 million cut to long-term and disability care, as well as the inability for us to fix a law that was also passed in 2023 under the trifecta. So we have multiple adult foster care families here in Otsego and across our community. And these are people who open up their homes and they bring people in that have disabilities that take incredible energy and sacrifice. So the people that are opening up their homes are giving their all. They have a huge heart to give a quality of life for these people that are adults, and having an institutional setting is just not the best setting for them. And so having that residential setting, somebody that it's 24/7. And unfortunately, that what passed in 2023 is a significant cut in their pay. And so we were working hard to try to fix that pay scale of compensation for them. But some of these providers are going to realize a 25, 40, 50, and upwards of 67% cut in their pay. Yet they still have to deliver the services that they're doing and bringing the quality of life to these people. So again, it's very, very heartbreaking what's happening. in that front, but something that, again, is something I'm going to continue to work on if I have the privilege of being reelected next year. And another of the very frustrating things, but there's a silver lining, would be omnibus bills. An omnibus bill is a multi-subject bill. It's patently unconstitutional, but it unfortunately has become the norm in modern day legislation to take multiple subjects, combine them into one bill, and then pass them. The Constitution says we must have a single subject bill to vote on, but it's become the norm here. And it's something, the silver lining is more and more legislators are beginning to be very vocal opposed to these. It's not a majority yet, but each election cycle, I've seen more and more legislators begin to oppose these. And there's an awareness among the general public in their opposition to these omnibus bills. And what an omnibus bill does is it prevents transparency and it prevents accountability. Because if you have multiple subjects in a single bill and I vote yes or no to it, then if there's something in there you like, you can say, give me thanks. Or if there's something you hate, in the very same bill, the very same vote, you can be critical of me of it. But it prevents the ability to hold me accountable because there's so many subjects in one bill. So that is something that I think is going to be a topic in the coming years. And hopefully we can get back to having single subject bills here in the state of Minnesota. So that's just some of the highlights. A lot more happened. Thankfully, a lot of the stuff was blocked that I in my opinion, would be detrimental for the values of our community. And I'll conclude with this. I recently filed just last week for re-election. It is the filing period right now for another 1 week from today, actually, and hoping to serve the great residents of this community for another term. And that'll be this November. So with that, Madam Chair, members of the council, I could stand for any questions.
Does anyone have anything? Right.
Madam Mayor. Senator, thank you for all of that. I did have a question on the long-term disability. So the 600 million that was cut, is that for the people or is it for the workers?
I appreciate it. Thank you, Council Member Tanner. I know this is something that's been very, you've been involved in an area. I don't serve on the Human Services Committee, so this was a 330-page bill, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And so I don't have all the details, but my understanding, just a very high level of understanding, by the way, I voted no to it. My high level understanding is it's going to be an impact on the cut to the employees and to the providers that are giving the services to the residents.
Okay. Because that more or less just pushes the people into a facility then, right?
Exactly right.
Which are astronomical to begin with.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. No, it's very, very negative in my opinion, for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Senator Lucero, you talked about the independent general
Office of the independent. Why am I not? I thought I had it here, the acronym, but I'm not seeing it on my notes.
Mayor, Office of Inspector General.
Office of Inspector General. There we go. OIG.
Okay.
Thank you.
My question with that is, you talked about that they would have law enforcement ability, but we know from stories in the past, these whistleblowers have brought this to the attention and it's just went nowhere. So what's the safety net that just by forming another committee or another area that somebody's going to actually be doing something with the information that they're finding?
That's an excellent question. So part of the conversation in this bill as it traveled through the committees was we wanted it to be independent, because right now there are inspectors, but they answer to the governor, they answer to the executive branch, or their natural extension would be to the governor, potentially through a commissioner. So you're not really independent. If you've got somebody who's investigating an agency, but they are appointed or report to the commissioner, you have a conflict of interest there. And that's one of the things we wanted to do away with. We wanted to have somebody who was independent and outside of answering to the governor. But then you have a constitutional, then you have a constitutional problem, is that if you have the legislature, if this independent office is responding to or appointed by the legislature, they don't have the police powers, because under our Constitution, it's only the executive branch that has the ability to arrest and or forward charges and things like that. The legislative branch can't do that. So it was a way, so it was a balance here of having, I think the person is nominated by the governor, the executive branch, but then has to be confirmed by the legislative branch. And so and then once they're confirmed, that person then is not reporting to the governor, is outside of that. So that's the answer to your question, is that they're going to have the ability to get out from underneath that conflict of interest and actually perform an investigation. Yeah.
Is there any other questions or comments?
I have one. I appreciate all the information. It's a lot that you ran through in a short amount of time. The omnibus bill, if that is against our constitution, how is it that we've been able to operate in that fashion?
No, that's an excellent question too. So there was a court case that worked its way up to the Supreme Court several years ago. Somebody had sued on this, and the Supreme Court ruled, I forget how many years ago, 20, 30 years ago, they ruled that if the subject is in the title of the bill, then it would pass constitutional muster. So because of that, very convoluted, and in my opinion, even though the Supreme Court ruled that way, an unconstitutional ruling, you have bills that might be 500 pages long, and the title itself might be 10 or 20 pages, right? The reason the title is so long is they've taken every single subject and put it into the title, and therefore they say it's not a single subject. It is the same subject. A clear violation of the plain reading of the Minnesota Constitution, which says bills must be single subject.
Yeah, I'm glad that's gonna be brought up, and hopefully we can change that, because I think, I don't know, the standstill that we see in passing bills or being able to debate on bills is because there's too many subjects
Yes.
in one bucket of information that is way too lengthy for one person to really digest.
And by way of comparison, Senator Barr has really delved into this and has all the statistics right off the top of his head. So I don't have it exact, but it's something to the effect of back in the 70s and the 80s, the legislature was passing well over 1,000 bills in a legislative session. Reason being is they would have single subject and you'd pass a ton of bills, well over 1,000. Modern day legislation, the legislature is passing 24 bills. So take the universe of ideas that previously took over 1,000 bills and has been consolidated now down to 1 or 2 dozen bills. That's a problem. And so one might ask the question, well, how can you pass so many bills? Don't you need to consolidate everything down to 12 bills? Well, no, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to go back to the way we used to do things in the state of Minnesota back in the just a couple decades ago. And then again, allowing for that transparency and accountability.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you.
I appreciate the indulgence. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
I do want to add that I want to thank Senator Lucero, Association of Minnesota Counties. Our big push this year was to take the antiquated systems of computer systems and softwares that was 1980s and bring that up to date. And it was Wright County that pushed it, because we showed our legislators what it actually looked like and how they had to go through the process. And because of that, they went charged down there, and we did get money to get new software, and it will be a perpetual amount coming in the coming years, and that will prevent fraud. So I want to thank Senator Lucero for that as well. AMC is very happy that that went through, and we're hoping that we can curtail some of this fraudulent activity. But thanks again, Senator Lucero. It's always nice working with the great senators and representatives that we had. So,
and also, I think we should all acknowledge Roxanne. She came this evening.
Yeah.
Again, a resident here. I remember when you came, I've spoke with you on the phone multiple times, and you kept saying, you know, like, I'll be okay because I have enough insurance coverage. But you did that because you cared about your neighbors. So
yes.
Thank you for all of the work you did also.
Yes. Yeah,
Sure.
it was great.
And thank you for recalling that. It was just an atrocious experience that we went through in our HOA. And so I had, from firsthand experience, then learning that Senator Lucero was going to be taking up this cause along with Representative Bonner. And I just want to say officially, I think from the outside looking in, they did a tremendous job. The amount of work that it took, the hours it took, the meetings that they set up, all of the research that they did. I think they really deserve a lot of credit for having succeeded in bringing this across the finish line. Tremendous job that they did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. This is still the open forum. Would anyone else like to speak?
Tough act to follow. Kathy Coles, 15613 90th Street Northeast. Here's my updated picture for the month.
Mayor,
Dan?
citation was sent on Friday, 15 days to respond, and another citation will be sent,
What was the amount of the citation?
$200.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Sorry you're
Oh,
struggling.
Kathy, I said, we appreciate you coming. Sorry that you have to keep coming. So, yeah.
Well, there is going to be documentation.
Right, she's got.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're now July, so.
Which is insane.
All right. Yes.
Nathan Anderson, 16780 65th Street, Northeast. I attended the planning commission meeting regarding the Jacobs Plat or Blue Dot building. And there, one of the planning commissioners stated that they would have checked previously before buying their property that it wasn't going to be a warehouse platted across or near them. And I just kind of wanted to lay it out that in 2019, when I moved here, it was plotted in the original housing or city plan that they were going to be 2.5 to 5 acre lots surrounding our house. And across the street was going to be single family houses and potentially a park and that stuff. Well, in 2023, you guys redid the things because cities grow, things change, life goes on from there. That kind of paved the way for Blue Dot to build their building there. You guys did a great job planning Blue Dot and that whole field, like planning for phase 2, making it's beautiful over there. There's animals and everything out there. Fast forward a little bit longer, 2024, we had a house fire, house burned down, that kind of stuff. We obviously didn't have a fire station then, so great job on getting a fire station because the closest fire station, Dayton, was the last one to show up to our fire, and the first one there was Rogers. So this one being closer, obviously faster times, that'll be great. Moving a little bit further forward, we moved back in July 1st. R&L Trucking opened up July 15th. We didn't really have much say in that because we were gone and our house was too far away to get the notifications from there. We were living in Rogers, so we didn't like blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so now that we're there, we get to experience what true industrial or light industrial is next door to you. R&L Trucking doesn't or is 24 hours, and so they have trucks 24 hours a day in and out, backup beepers all night long. The Blue Dot place, according to the planning guys, you guys are pushing for 7 to 10. That's great because past 10 p.m., you don't want to be able to, you open your windows when it's nice and cool. You don't want to listen to backup beepers all night long. Or the only downside is if you're outside playing with your kid or barbecuing, you get backup beepers. But it's kind of give and take. It is what it is as far as that world goes. But my biggest thing is with the new expansion there is that they say they're only stacking things 12 feet high. If you go to any place that does commercial or residential wood pallet, like Menards is what they can rep, or what the planning guys said, or if you go to ABC lumber, which is kind of what I assume is the same thing that's going to be moving there, they're not 12 feet high. They're 16, 20 feet high of wood pallets. So if you're going to put something on the road that makes it so that when we're driving to our house every day, We don't have to look at an ugly pallet. Make the wall high enough. We don't care if it's an ugly or nice piece of like fence of some sort. Make it look good, or put something there so I don't have to look at a pallet with plastic coming off of it, whatnot. Because you guys did a great job on building the original Blue Dot idea. That field is great, and it's got berms set up for the next set of warehousing that's supposed to put the trucks there, and it's supposed to block the noise. It's all set up exactly for what you guys designed it for. And then they're coming in and changing it. Sorry. Changing it to something that's completely different of what you guys designed it for. And I mean, it's great, cities grow, but that's not what that space is, what you guys designed it for. And it's a gorgeous space, and people complained about animals not being able to live there and whatnot if they do this. The space was built for the next extension, and it is what it is, but that's not it unless they're going to make it sound and everything for all the neighbors. So yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other comments? All right, we will close the open forum and move on to consider our agenda for approval. Does anyone have anything that they would like to add or delete at this time?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Ryan.
on the consent agenda, I'd like to bring down item 3.3 for discussion. We can make that item 6.1.
Okay. Anyone else have anything?
With that, Madam Mayor, I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Ryan, seconded by Michelle. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next item is our consent agenda. A motion would be in order.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Ryan?
I move to approve the agenda as the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, seconded by Corey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to our planning. Item 4.1 is Jacob's Spot Second Edition, Endeavor Investments. We'll turn this over to the city planner.
Thank you, Mayor. Endeavor Investments is here for the expansion of outdoor storage on the Blue Dot warehouse site located at the southeast corner of Queens Avenue and 65th Street. The property was initially approved in 2022 for construction of a 400,000 square foot distribution warehouse. The site plan at the time showed an additional 200,000 square foot expansion. All of that is constructed on what is a 21 acre lot. And then the balance of the property is a 55 acre outlot to the east and south. To the surrounding properties include the rural residential uses to the north. I'd note that the property directly adjacent to Queens Avenue to the north was recently platted for industrial use. The south lot has not identified a user yet. And to the south, you have Harvest Run Second Edition, as well as Harvest Run East, and then Anna's Acres further to the east as urban single family lots. So the applications that Endeavor has submitted include a preliminary plat to enlarge the one lot by approximately 18 acres. With that, we vacate the existing drainage and utility easements and then reestablish them with the new final plat. And a request for an interim use permit to allow 10 acres of outdoor storage on the property. The comprehensive plan guides the property for light industrial use, mainly looking at office and warehouse. It does allow for a limited amount of outdoor storage area through the I-1 Limited Industrial District by interim use permit. Surrounding land uses are guided obviously for industrial as well as residential uses to the south and east. The plat itself includes expanded lot 1, block 1, as well as replatting out lot A as the remnant parcel. With the initial approval of the Jacobs plat, the developer was required to construct 65th Street with any platting of outlot A for development because the street should have been improved when the initial plat went in, but was deferred basically as a form of financial assistance. They don't access the street, but it's still required because it's abutting the project. So with this final plat, the developer is responsible for the cost of constructing that street. We're looking at options as to how that can be accomplished either as a private project or a city project assessed to the property owner in full. With the expansion of the lot and then the addition of the impervious surface, they'll expand the existing stormwater basins on site to handle additional runoff. There is no impact to utilities with the addition of the outdoor storage area, but they will pay stormwater or utility availability fees with the expanded lot in accordance with the city code. As I mentioned, we'll replace the existing easements with new easements, and then the additional lot area requires park dedication fees be paid at time of final plat approval. Specific to the outdoor storage use, interim uses are allowed basically the same as a conditional use. It's an allowed use that's subject to specific performance standards because the city anticipates certain negative impacts may result from this. So in the case of outdoor storage, our main concern is screening that outdoor storage use and activity from surrounding uses that might be sensitive to it. Obviously, in this case, we're talking about the residential uses to the south as well as the rural residential uses to the north. What's different about an interim use permit is it allows the city to terminate that allowed use either by a particular date, an occurrence of an event, or if the city were to change the zoning ordinance not to allow outdoor storage in this area, the use is no longer allowed. They have to cease. The other one that's not listed here is that if there's a violation of the interim use permit or any of its conditions, that terminates the interim use permit. So in the case before us, the city staff and the planning commission are recommending a condition that the outdoor storage is limited to a height of 12 feet. If we receive a complaint and investigate and determine that there is material stacked higher than 12 feet, the applicant has the ability to reduce that and comply. Otherwise, the city can, in fact, terminate that allowed use of the property. In terms of the performance standards that are outlined, the applicant bears the burden of demonstrating that they're meeting those criteria. It's not necessarily in the case of screening a black and white situation. It's up to them to demonstrate through the materials provided that they are complying with that. The city does have the ability to add conditions related to the potential negative impacts of a use that they feel are necessary to mitigate any lasting concerns with the use. So that comes into play with some of the recommendations from the Planning Commission. As to the site plan, the building itself doesn't change. The outdoor storage area is located primarily to the east of the structure. They'll repurpose the trailer parking along the south side of the building to additional outdoor storage. Setbacks are complied with at the perimeter of the lot. We did note, as shown in the applicant's information, that the outdoor storage area is at least 350 feet from the nearest properties to the south, obviously closer to the properties to the north, but separated by the public street. Off-street parking is not impacted by the change in use of the property. That was actually calculated based on the current tenant's occupancy of the structure. If there is any change, there is obviously space on site to accommodate additional parking being constructed. The city also has performance standards for exterior lighting, which based on prior complaints related to this property, we've verified that the property line do comply with the zoning ordinance. There's also storage or standards for limiting outdoor storage and signs that would be addressed moving forward. Specific to the outdoor storage area, there's a limit established by the zoning ordinance that the outdoor storage area can't be more than 30% of the lot. This is at 26% of the lot area. And obviously the primary concern we're looking at here from an interim use permit standpoint is the screening, looking at using the mix of topography and the change of elevations between the residential uses to the south and the outdoor storage area being on average approximately 10 feet lower. There are berms that were constructed with the initial development of the site along the south line, and in this location, those will be added to with additional material and also landscaping placed on top that would include 6-foot evergreen trees, which will obviously grow to provide more effective screening over time. The berms include a fence that's 6-foot composite board at the top of the berm to enhance the elevation of the screening. In looking at this, the Planning Commission did have extensive discussion about the effectiveness of the screening, both along the south lot line as well as the view from 65th Street. They recommended that through the combination of the elevations of the site, the berms, the landscaping, the fences, that the minimum height for the screening be set at 14 feet. So I believe the applicant has some information that they'll present showing how that is complied with. The additional condition recommended by staff, again, this pertains to the noise generated outside in the proximity to residential uses to the south. Would that be there not be any nighttime activity between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. On the property to limit impacts from backup alarms, et cetera. The condition regarding, there was also a condition added regarding backup alarms that any equipment on site, like a forklift, needs to use alternative to backup beeping alarm, single tone alarms, can use other forms as allowed by OSHA. And then again, I outlined the criteria for termination. Following the Planning Commission discussion, there were 2 points that the Planning Commission really focused on. First, the screening. Second was the hours of operation. The developers asked that the City Council each individually address your perspectives on those items as recommended by city staff and the Planning Commission, as it would pertain to any action you may take on the application tonight. But following the public hearing, which was held by the Planning Commission May 18th, we have provided the draft minutes so you can see the extensive discussion that occurred, which again primarily focused on the screening related to the distance topography and landscaping and fencing that's being proposed. They did vote 6-0 to recommend approval subject to the 14 conditions that are included in the resolution that you have in your packet this evening.
Thank you. Does the developer wish to comment?
Thank you for having us. My name is Evan Matson. I'm representing the applicant. I'm joined by Brian.
Brian Field, the design engineer with Anderson Engineering.
What was your last name, Brian?
Field.
Field.
And I'd like to take you through a quick presentation to further clarify what we're proposing. I feel like in the Planning Commission, there's some things I could have done better to communicate exactly what we're doing. And so I hope that this presentation helps outline and provide clarity for you all as you're reviewing the application. There we go. So Dan highlighted, we're requesting plat and interim use permit approvals for 6400 Queens Avenue to accommodate the needs of a confidential user. The existing user in the building, it was discussed in the Planning Commission. Their growth trends didn't take off as they're anticipating following COVID. So we've been trying to find a solution for them ever since. And we've identified a tenant who would take over the entire building and then would seek to expand outdoors to customize the building for their use. The proposed project will invest significant dollars back into the property, which will really enhance the tax base. We're anticipating a 20 to 30% increase from where we are today, and will generate over 100 jobs, which is something that we were hoping would come to fruition with the initial project, but never did due to those difference in growth projections. Proposed uses office, warehouse, which is consistent with the existing building. And now we're adding the outdoor storage component specific for this user. As Dan mentioned, building materials will be stored up to 12 feet. We don't have any intention of storing beyond that, and we'd follow all the permit guidelines there. The user is requesting 24-hour operations, and that's consistent with what is out on site today, and consistent with I-1 uses across city of Otsego. The one item that we wanted to clarify is following the Planning Commission, we did confirm that they will be utilizing non-audible backup noises. So there won't be a beeping noise. It'll be a downward projected light. And we got that confirmation from the tenant following that discussion. So that's one consideration as they're doing outdoor work and material handling. The noise should be limited. We can, oh, sorry, I'm looking at a different screen than yours. All right, so here is an aerial view of the site depicting the outdoor storage area on the east and on the south. One item we wanted to highlight as a strong consideration as this applicant's being reviewed is the distance that the outdoor storage area is from the southern property line. We're set back 353 feet, which is 11 times greater than the code requirement. And so as we're analyzing and talking about screening, some of the things that we're designing and doing intentionally are to capitalize on that fact. So the screening that we're forming is at the property line. And the analogy I like to use is if you put your hand in front of your face, it covers up visibility, whereas that same object, as the closer it gets to the outdoor storage area, just becomes less and less effective. So we're trying to locate those screening elements as close to the property lines as possible, and that's to provide the maximum effect. The screen we're proposing is a berm composite fence and landscaping unit. So I'll refer to it as a screening unit, and that's done intentionally to create a natural screening. I feel like if a large fence is put up, it's man-made, it's unnatural. It is what it is day one, whereas the landscaping will continue to grow and continue to enhance and will provide an overall better appearance. Planning Commission raised one question they wanted to confirm is 87 trees will be planted as part of the screening efforts. So with this, Brian, do you want to talk a little bit about the design and what we're showing here?
Yeah, so these are sections of the previous slide. View B, B and C are on the south property line. Effectively, I mean, we have 13 feet for view B, along with the berm composite combination that Evan was talking about. Trying to just highlight some of these sight lines, and with those the tree, I'm sorry, the tree nodes there, you can see the darker ones are going to be what's planted at 6 feet, and then the gray background ones are after full maturity, which we're looking at 50 to 60 feet for the maples, and 40 to 50 for the evergreens in front.
Yeah. So, and during Planning Commission, there was a comment raised about what is the standard? How do we measure the screening component? Typically, what I see is it's measured from standing at the lot line, 6 feet tall, and looking outward. So we have that view shown, but we also decided to add the view from the second story window, just because that was one of the items that was considered. So we wanted to depict both scenarios, just so that there wasn't any gray area, potentially what would be screened versus what could potentially see the area. So what we are proposing, what we think is most effective is these berms at the southern line and then at the northern line. So these are the two on the south, and then the one on the north is 65th Avenue, and we're showing something very similar. After the Planning Commission, we regrouped as a team and said, let's make these berms taller. What can we do to accomplish that goal? And so Brian and his team increased the berm on the north by 2 feet, given the area that we had to play around with. This is another slide that just answers the Planning Commission's feedback. We changed the plantings to maples, coffee trees, and white spruce, and that was based upon what they felt would be the most applicable trees for our situation. So we're trying to show that we're trying to work with you all. Is essentially what we're trying to do there. So to summarize, we're seeking plat and interim use permit approvals. We believe our applicant as proposed exceeds the requirements. We're incorporating aesthetically pleasing screening in the form of berms, plantings, and fencing, and the setbacks at which the outdoor storage area are far exceed the zoning standards. We're excited about this project and excited about bringing in a new group that hopefully can continue to grow and drive the site forward. So with that, I'd welcome any questions.
Evan or Dan, who's ever running the slides, can you go back to the berm picture? There we go. So I drove the area today.
Yep.
So how much are you adding to the berms? So I get that you only want to do a small short fence. You just want to increase the berm to be taller. So what are you adding to each of the berms? Because I could tell you, I think B, the berm is pretty high. I drove on the property. I drove behind it on Quinn Row. I drove on 62nd. But then the one that's more to the east, that berm isn't very tall right now. So what are you putting in?
B is that section view that's going to be continued through where you see those trees on the screen there.
Mhm.
C is going to be closely matching that within 1 to 2 feet, I think.
So what is the actual, how tall is it gonna be? Then the fence, what is it on all of this?
So the B section, we have that would be 7 feet of berm plus the 6 feet in fence, so that's 13 feet total. The C section, we have a little bit more, where it's 10 feet of berm and 6 feet of fence for 16 effective feet, not counting the trees.
That's for C. What about A?
A, we're looking at let's see here, that'd be 8 feet of berm with the 6 feet of fence for 14 feet.
So your B are a little short.
Yeah. So in the scenario B, when we reevaluated B in particular, we tried to add as much earth to B as we could and do the topography of the wetlands and grades we have out there. 13 was the max that we could get to. So in the scenario that we would have to get to 14, we would increase that fence height day one. So from 6 to 8 feet.
On the B section.
Yeah.
That's my questions for now. Anyone else?
Now, is the fence gonna go along the entire length? I'm not sure where the fence is gonna be at in conjunction to the berm. Is it gonna be along the same length of the berm? Just out of curiosity, I apologize, I could not attend that meeting.
No worries. I think it's easier, Dan, if you want to start with your cursor in the lower left corner of B. So the berm will start there and we'll head east, northeast, roughly. And then as he stops there and then traces down, there's an existing tree line right there that we are trying to preserve. So we could have the berm run continuous, but we felt like preserving that tree line in the long-term impact or the short-term impacts of that would be of greater benefit than taking it out and having a continuous berm. So we're keeping that existing tree line. Then as Dan starts moving,
So as I get my
oh, yeah, no problem. Then the berm restarts where its cursor is there.
So that's the only one that's like broken. The rest of them run completely. So where you have the berm is where you have the fence as well.
Yes.
Okay. So the trees are just to help enhance the natural aesthetic of it. And it's not really to provide the screening specifically.
Well, day one, it's not providing additional screening. It's the potential down the road. It's going to provide screening. It's going to absorb any sound. It's just going to continue to get better. Really, the worst case is day one.
So with that said, knowing that some of the trees grow a little bit slower that you're planting, than other trees, what is the size of the trees going to be when you plant them?
Be a standard 6 foot for both the
6 foot?
Yep.
For all of them?
For all of them, yep.
Okay, thank you.
So if I could jump in, Evan, Ryan, you said day one, it doesn't impact any noise or it doesn't do anything the first day. And these are eventually going to grow tall. But what happens when the issues at the planning commission that were raised about noise? That was their concern. Noise, looking at it, heights. So what happens on day one when we have noise? Like, how are you guys mitigating that?
Yeah. So that wasn't my intention on my comment to, my comment in that regard was more in regard to the trees day one aren't providing screening in the sense that we're still achieving the 14-foot tall berm fence combination on day one. So that unit that's going in is going to screen, and it's also going to withhold noise to our side of the property. So day one, the berm, which is varying height, 8 to 12 feet tall, depending on where we're at, it is going to accomplish that in combination with the fence.
Other questions or comments?
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Ryan.
So if I'm, can you go back to the slide where they, in the beginning where they put sort of where they have the issues with the conditions? Because I want to make sure we get this ironed out.
On Mayor, on my set of slides or theirs?
Was it on your set of slides maybe?
So,
Okay, sorry. Because so I think it was C1, C2, and then you addressed the sound issue with the lights, I think, or with the beepers. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. That helps. That's issue number 7, I believe. Now, issue number 6, we should probably get through the fence issue first, but the condition number 6 is the 24-hour operation. I think you probably still want to address that, but maybe if we can make sure that the wording is correct on the fencing and for what you're asking for, because right now it looks like the fence itself would have to be 14 feet, and I think that's not what you would like.
Correct.
Okay, so Madam Mayor, I think we have to correct the language there to say a total height of 14 feet, or
Mayor, so the issue with condition 4 is item 2. What the planning commission had asked for was actually a fence along this line here, in addition to the berming and landscaping to 14 feet height. City staff would agree with developer that that's not going to be effective at screening because it's already below the line of sight. It's the analogy of the hand in front of the face is correct. You're going to look right over that fence and still see everything in the outdoor storage yard.
Right.
So the recommendation would be to simply change this condition to the outdoor storage yard shall be screened with a combination of berms, fence, landscaping to a minimum height of 14 feet as measured as shown on the site plan.
I think keeping it to berm and fence and not adding the landscaping in there would probably be more ideal, because then you can say that a tree is going to grow tall, plant a 2-foot tree, and it takes 15 years for it to get to that healing height.
But the developer said at the planning commission that they wanted to look more natural. So that's why they were adding the tree in. So eventually it washes itself out basically, which is what it looks like on 62nd, which. Nope,
that would be changed we changed that as well. Mayor, the intent of the trees is not only make it look more natural, but over time, that's going to become a much more effective screen than the fence or the berm ever would be. It's probably, unless you're going to do something like along Highway 10, as was brought up, you're not going to block it out with a berm or landscaping. And it's physically not possible to build a berm that high at this location.
So then the fencing that is actually along the pavement, are we saying that that's okay? Like a standard chain link? It's more of like a security fence than it is anything else, right?
Correct. That's just security fencing at the perimeter of the outdoor storage area. It's not providing screen.
So then are we eliminating condition 2?
Yeah. Mayor, as you talk, we'll come up with revising.
Okay. Thank you. So then, Madam Mayor, like we could probably move on to the 24-hour operation request. From my opinion, I think I'm hesitant to make it a 24-hour thing. I do appreciate that you've looked into and made sure of the beeping issue, but a pallet dropping at 3 o'clock in the morning would not be ideal. I'd be okay with the way it's written. It's outdoor storage is the area that would only be prohibited. So like you said, today it's 24-hour operation. I don't know that we can prevent trucks from arriving at a particular time. So I would probably be in favor of keeping it as written. And just so it's clear, it just says the outdoor storage area would be prohibited between the hours of 10 and 7.
Which that was not addressed, as you said, like that wasn't broken down into the two thoughts that there's inside stuff that still could be happening. The unknown occupant could prepare knowing that they can bring stuff inside and load trucks. You have docks there, but the outdoor storage wasn't ever planned to be in this spot. So we do have the ability to say, no, we don't want to have that kind of extra noise right now. I think you got a little contentious about some of the comments. And so I would say any of us that listened or were here that night really were trying to be sympathetic to the residents, but also to the end user too. Like, we want this to work. You're going to be neighbors with these people. But I would agree with Councilmember Dunlap that I don't think that the outdoor storage area, I believe we should shut it down at 10 and not have it start until 7. But that doesn't mean that the inside stuff can't happen. You have a big warehouse there.
Just out of curiosity, if you don't mind me asking another question, what type of client, I know you're under an NDA, who's potentially moving into this place. What would be the closest assimilation that we might recognize for a similar organization?
A single group doesn't come to mind. The Fleet Farm or Menard scenario also isn't entirely accurate, because this is not a retail setting. It's a commercial setting, and this user is going to service the upper Midwest area. So the reason for a lot of these components being stored outside is due to size, length, et cetera. This doesn't make them feasible to bring inside the building. They're going to be distributing products that are utilized across a variety of residential applications. The fencing, which we're proposing, would kind of give you a good guideline of the type of products that they make and distribute.
So wood-based residential.
Yeah, wood, composite, wood
products.
Yeah.
Okay. And is the operation of functionality, is it going to be activity that's going to be creating these products out in the storage area, or is that happening in the shop?
So the entire facility is going to be distribution purpose.
Distribution only?
Yeah.
No fabrication.
So there's not a manufacturing.
Okay. I may have missed this answer at Planning Commission, but what was the amount of trucks that we anticipated coming in and out of this facility?
Yeah. So the best analogy I can give is right now there are 38 dock positions at the facility. We're eliminating half of those. So 19 dock positions will remain. Okay. So,
but with that comment, since not everything would go inside the building, obviously drop-offs would be happening in the outdoor storage for these large
combination, indoor and outdoor.
So is that the issue, that you need 24-hour operation because the drivers would be delivering product in the middle of the night?
Yes, the one-off delivery in the middle of the night. That's not how they're staffing their shift. They'll be staffing in, I'd say, normal daylight hours. It's a concern that there's a one-off order that they have to fulfill, or a one-off delivery, and maybe that happens a couple times over the duration of a couple of weeks, then it gets them shut out of their ability to fulfill that. So that's not the primary working hours for them, but their ability to be able to execute with some sort of flexibility is important, and that's really where the request is coming from.
Isn't there like a permitting process for being able to operate outside of standard working hours?
Mayor, that would be essentially, they could come back, if the council imposed the limit, they could come back and ask for amendment of the interim use permit. Otherwise, for permitted use like RL carriers, we don't have any restrictions.
That's correct.
Thank you. Do we have a photo of the fence, what it looks like? By chance, I thought I saw one pop up in there.
It's in the appendix. Sorry.
Yep.
Technology is your friend, Dan.
I guess in the meantime, I would agree with Councilmember Dunlap and the mayor on the 24 hours. You know, I want to be sensitive to that neighborhood over there. That's a nice fence. My one question is it gonna look incomplete having just these sections of fence out there and not a full fence around?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think the best way to answer it is looking at the topography. I think it'll look a lot more awkward if we were to run something down and then up and then down. It's a large site, so we're trying to make the best use of upland, wetland, and berming. So this was our best design that we came up with to accomplish that.
Mayor, just to add to that, so where the existing fence is here, there's a wetland right here. So you can't have a continuous fence go through there. Plus it's going down. Plus there's, you know, this ridge line here. What they've basically done is overlap the two berms and the fences so that they're, if you're on the residential side, you're not going to see a gap between them.
Okay. Maybe a question for you, Dan. Do we have any other examples of screening in the city? Like this sort of thing?
So this issue's come up before in this area with RL carriers and their trucks facing towards County Road 38 in the Wildflower Meadows neighborhood. Because of that site topography, they were pretty limited what they could do with just putting a tall fence right behind where their trucks are. Quick Trip the same way, you know, they have the same residential neighborhood to the east. Wetland between the two of them. There's no place to put berming or landscaping, so they have a 14-foot wall essentially that's the height of the tractor trailers.
Okay.
One other question about berm C. Being real good at my A, B, and C in here. How wide is that? Or well, you told me how tall it's going to be, but what width and then length? Because on these pictures it makes it look very small, but when you are driving on 62nd and the road curves down to 61st, there are houses that, I mean, I can just see by driving, I can see the corner of the existing building now. So if I'm looking at now, I guess what my comment goes to, it's like, it doesn't look like it's very wide to me on your drawings. But again, I can see where the tree line is. I drove it, I saw it.
Yeah.
But that C looks very small where these houses start to curve back towards your area. And then those people aren't going to be able to, there's nothing screening them, or there's no noise that's reflecting off the berms, the fencing, the trees. So why not go wider or longer with that one?
Yeah. So Dan pulled up. Oh, if you can go down, Dan. Sorry. That one. Yeah, no, up. One more. So this image in the lower left shows the width. This section view is 100 feet wide.
Okay.
So this would be cutting it, right? So you're not looking at the length at this one. This is looking through it, right?
Through it,
so
right.
That's the width.
But how long?
how long is it?
Because if you go back to the other drawing, which I'm sorry, Dan, we keep making you do that, but it's not as, you know, long as the other one. Like,
What's the scale of that?
Yeah. So
Right.
I don't have the exact length right now, but I can tell you that the building is approximately 450 feet, right? So it's 450, and that berm looks like it's about a third of that. So I would approximate that's 150 feet. And I guess to answer your question on your comment on the height of the building versus the height of the storage area. So the existing building right now is 36-foot clear height, which means the exterior facade is typically you had 4 feet and then 4 additional feet. So it's approximately 44 feet tall to the top parapet. So what we be proposing with the outdoor storage would be roughly a quarter of that height.
right. But if I'm in those houses on 62nd, as they go to the 2 stories, because they're not all the single levels, those houses can see. There's somebody that has a little back porch thing with looks like a little screened in area. their angle will face your section. So I guess I'm wondering why we're not going farther to the east with that berm C. No, B. No, C. C, right? Just
The topography is kind of dictating how far we can go with that. That turns into wetlands, and that's actually our emergency overflow for stormwater through that area and through that creek there.
so how do you then plan to the noise that's coming off of this outdoor storage? You're taking care of the 62nd people, you're taking care, or Quinrow, a little bit of 62nd, but what about everybody else?
You're seeing further east of where it says section C right now.
Yes.
So if you're further east looking northwest, and you're beyond that, you're going to be over 700 feet away. So that would set back about twice as far as the residents directly to the south. As Brian mentioned, there's some topography in that area which is challenging to continue that berm further. So when we were proposing this, we felt as though continuing the berming all the way to the edge of the property line, which is much further than the outdoor storage is going to extend, that we were already taking care of residents beyond kind of where the outdoor storage area ended.
So,
Sure, but
I think they were also planning on keeping a berm with some landscaping and stuff that's running towards the north on that side. It
No,
wasn't there.
no,
Or am I
they're,
thinking
no,
of
they're
it?
only thinking, that's 65th where they're berming. There's nothing on that
Mayor,
east property.
I think what Councilmember Lund is talking about is the landscaping that
Yeah.
kind of exists right through this area.
Yeah.
City engineer.
But that's just a regular tree line. That's already there.
right.
Yeah.
But they're mature trees at this point. So
No, I understand what I'm saying though. If you're out there in those houses, I don't know, pick a number, 16870. I don't know. I drove that. That's a 2-story. I know that.
yeah, that would be over in this area.
Yeah.
So the berm is coming across here.
Okay.
We estimated it's probably about 180 to 200 feet. And then the problem is this tree line here, it's going downhill to that wetland. You can't extend that berm any further. So if you're here at this house, looking at this berm this way,
Okay.
this street is going downhill this way. So these homes in here are approximately 4 to 8 feet below the existing elevation where the berm is going to be. Put the berm on top of that. Now you're at 20 feet.
Nick, that's just one other comment to add. Right where Dan's mouse is, if he draws a line straight up to that pond, the storm pond.
That was my.
Where'd your mouse go?
Essentially right there. Everything east of that
Yeah.
is
Going down.
it's going downhill, but it's also in a conservation deed easement. So that area can't be touched in the future due to wetlands that exist, wetlands that are trying to be established.
So is there any way to put a berm closer than to your outdoors? I'm the residents that came here and their addresses aren't all just Quinrow. They were also 62nd. So that's my comments. It's just how are we focused a lot on 65th, which I think we all get the berming. That makes sense. But that's just really taking care of that first cul-de-sac.
We are we have, as you see on this slide here, we have wetlands to the north and south of the berms.
Okay.
So we're trying to fit them in and get them as tall as we can with the available area that we have.
Any other questions?
I just wanted a clarifying question. Evan, you mentioned with that 24-hour operation, you mentioned that this wouldn't be all the time. It would be maybe a couple times a week, or it flexible is kind of what you're saying. Is that correct?
Correct. There's just no other way from a permitting perspective, in my opinion, to do that other than request 24 hours.
Mhm. But in the packet, the planning commission did not support that.
Yeah,
The
Mayor,
outdoor storage.
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Mayor, I do want to make sure we're being consistent though. I mean, my preference would be to keep it as written, but do we have any other businesses where that, I mean, I'm specifically thinking of outdoor storage, right? Do we have any other businesses where we would have that kind of restriction? Mayor, the only other businesses, there aren't any other businesses in the I-1 zoning district that have outdoor storage. The ones that do have outdoor storage are all on the west side of the city, which is zoned I-2 general industrial. Right. And those do not have an hour limitation on that.
But they're in a different zoning.
And the other ones that we do, the other light industrial is all indoor storage, essentially. Correct. Right. I don't know.
Well, the hard part is that if the building, which we know that, as you said, Blue Dot, there's a new user. So had Blue Dot expanded and doubled, it would just be
Indoor.
So there'd be really no discussion. It was approved for indoor storage. But what we're looking at right now is fitting something different in than what we had planned. And so, you know, to the point of Mr. Anderson when he came, you know, things have changed, but they weren't expecting that they were going to have outdoor storage. They assumed they were getting Blue Dot or a user like that then would double their space, not that they're a building and now doing outdoor storage that's requesting 24 hours. So it is a different concept than what they thought they were going to live next to. And we have to find that balance.
Mayor, just a caution on that comment, because it is an allowed use within the industrial district, it always has to be assumed that it could develop that way. The same as when Quick Trip came in, people said, well, I never thought there'd be a convenience gas station there. Well, it's an allowed use in that zoning district. So you have to assume that someone may propose it. That's why there are standards for landscaping and screening. And the ability to put limits on hours of operation if there's concerns about noise. So,
Which that was what the residents came was the concern of 24-hour operation.
Yep. Are you talking about when Quick Trip came in?
Quick Trip and
this one.
This one, yes.
Mayor, I guess I just have one question as I'm working through this. Is it easier for us to limit the hours now and then expand later, or allow 24 hours now and pull back if there's issues?
Mayor, the proper action is to limit now, be flexible in the future. You can't go backwards and call them back and then limit their hours. So
unless there's some sort of violation of the
of a noise ordinance,
right,
that would terminate the interim use permit.
I appreciate your work too with your berming. So from what you proposed last week to what you guys have come up with, I do appreciate that you put some thought into it, making it taller, wider, higher. I do appreciate that. Thank you. And your presentation tonight, I wish we would have seen that last week. I think it would have cleared up a lot of questions or maybe driven the conversation a little different at the planning commission also.
Mayor and staff is partially responsible for that too. We didn't expect that the materials that were in the packet wouldn't have been sufficient to adequately address the conversation that happened. So,
well, thank you for taking responsibility of that too.
Yep. Mayor, so just to not belabor the point, but on the screen, this is approximately where the berm at C is.
Okay.
It's 400 feet along this line. And then the berm itself is approximately 180 to 200 feet. You can see the elevation here is at the 920 through here. This would be 918. these are dropping down into the, this is going significantly lower at 912 feet. So you're looking up the hill at this berm, then it's going back down to the building in the outdoor storage area.
And plus putting a 6-foot fence on it.
Fence
or
on-
six.
with-
Yeah, because that one has 6, the other one was.
Effective 14 feet above that, above grade today.
Sure.
So, and it is, if you're standing in the back of this house, you're looking through the berm. So it is blocking visibility towards the outdoor storage area. The physical reality is they can't extend it any further east because the slope is going down the wetlands.
And you could tell it was something because there was a lot of dead trees. And I mean, there's a lot of dead trees in that stormwater storage area.
Right.
Looks like. So.
Mayor, one question I just thought of. I think at the planning commission, you had mentioned that the fence that you were looking at is a particular fence that comes in 6-foot height. And so I think we were kind of just talking about one of the sections has to be an 8-foot fence. Does that change the look between the two different sections?
Yeah, that's a good question. Following the planning commission, we investigated everything as far as what heights can you do, what heights can you get, and the standard heights are either 6 or 8. Anything above that becomes very challenging. Particularly if you want to maintain what I would say is a aesthetically pleasing fence. Once you start going beyond those heights, you're into materials that are more similar to what you see on the highway. And that's something that if you attended the planning commission, you probably could tell I felt very strongly about. And so our download after that meeting was try and find the best solution for each berm, and Brian did a great job of trying to figure out how we can maximize the height with the existing topography, and that one area where it's slightly under, that's the max height we can get to the berm. So 8 feet there would be something that'd be feasible.
Okay.
Which then meets the 14.
Yeah, so how Dan had it redrafted makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
All right, questions or comments? Otherwise, I feel like we've talked through, I think we're all on the same page. 14 feet,
Yeah.
berms, fencing, trees that are going to grow big one day.
So then as far as the hours go,
Yeah, that's the
If-
last 3 minutes.
would the applicant, would the occupant of the building come back for an amendment request?
Mayor, our advice would be to have the tenant occupy the building, establish their operations, let the neighborhood experience how they operate, typically under the limitation. Then after a period of time, if they come back, they can demonstrate, this is how we operate. We're talking about, occasional drops or pickups in the yard. Would you consider reducing that restriction?
And maybe at that point in time, they have some established information as far as when those events would occur and what that frequency would be. I think the biggest hesitation, I guess, on my part is once you let it go, then you
no
have
way to
the
drop.
24 operation that nobody intended on living next to. So that's all happening outside, kind of just beyond fence, even though there's a distance there. I think that is a valid concern for the neighborhood, and establishing that business practice and showing that they're a good neighbor and stuff, I think would speak volumes.
Madam Mayor, I would agree with that. I'd be open if they came back with some additional information after some period of time. I think we can revisit that issue.
I would agree with that one.
Yeah, I think it's just the unknown of, we don't know what this looks like.
Right.
Any other comments?
Just one quick comment to clarify. So if, let's hope it doesn't happen, but there's a violation or whatever, what's the process for that?
Mayor, so the process would be is if the city receives a complaint, we contact the property owner and discuss what the complaint was to determine if in fact it occurred, what measures they can take to mitigate it going forward. In case, we wouldn't immediately move to terminate the interim use permit. Obviously, the city has an interest to cooperate with them.
Yep.
But it wouldn't be a situation that drags on for over a year. Right. So with the interim use permit, the city has some additional leverage to affect a resolution.
And, and at the same time, for the business, I mean, somebody makes a complaint, it doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna be ixnayed.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
One other question, the racking, we talked about the racking 12 feet. Is it 12 feet racking plus things on top, or 12 feet is the max? And you had requested that
12-foot ceiling.
12-foot ceiling on the racking outdoor.
No, like
Max.
Max height.
Max height.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Just wanted clarification.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Everybody have any other questions?
No.
Otherwise, a motion would be in order.
Madam Mayor, did Dan have some better language?
Yes,
for
sir.
Mayor, on the screen in bold, item 4C, screening shall be required subject to review and approval of the zoning administrator through a combination of berms, fence, and landscaping along 65th Street with an outlot A shown on the submitted plans to a minimum height of 14 feet.
Looks good. Everybody.
Okay.
So let's just make sure it matches our. Can you go back to that, Dan? Or which? Sorry.
And this is revised text. And we eliminated part 2 of that, right? Correct. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I just want to make sure. I was like, there was a 2 and where did that go? Okay. So this is being removed.
Mayor, so the possible motion would be blah, 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 as amended. Yeah, I'll give that a shot. Madam Mayor.
Yes, Ryan.
I move to adopt resolution 2026-42, approving a preliminary plat for Jacobs Plat Second Edition and adopting findings of fact and approving an interim use permit, Lot 1, Block 1, Jacobs Plat Second Edition, subject to conditions as amended.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, seconded by Tina. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item 5.1, well house number 3, wastewater treatment plant. Good evening.
Madam Mayor, Council.
Oh.
I'm here with AE2S Engineering. My name is Ryan Hansen. I'm the project manager on this project. I'm sure you're familiar with Scott Schaefer. He's been here several times. Being that we have more drinking water related projects, I do much more of that. He lives more on the wastewater side, so you might start seeing me a little bit more.
Okay. Well, welcome.
You said wastewater, so I just wanted to correct.
Oh.
Drinking water treatment plant. So this is actually well house 3.
See, I'm so used to wastewater.
I know.
It just like I'm sorry. Water treatment, not wastewater.
Yep.
Sorry.
So it's been presented a few times. The city is implementing a long-term plan to implement drinking water treatment at many of your well houses, new facilities as well. So this is actually phase 2, kind of. The well house number 4 is currently in construction, implementing startup and starting to produce water to the system as we speak. So this is the next project, well house 3, drinking water treatment plant upgrades to add treatment at that well house. What I'm going to talk about a little bit today is the project scope. It came to council 2-3 months ago for approval to advertise for bidding. Bids have been received, opened, and here to award a bid price to contractor, as well as review a amendment for us to provide construction services. We'll go through some of the cost summary, some of the funding and grant services that the city is going through, and then timeline and schedule for various projects related to this. So a little background on the project scope, and actually I'll look here so I'm not always looking to the side. This is kind of a culmination of several projects. The ones that are for the award resolution today is related to Well House 3 drinking water treatment plant. So this project consists of a new water treatment plant building that consists of media filtration and chemical addition, as well as backwash recovery, HVAC, mechanical, electrical, and standby generation systems for that facility as well as some upgrades to the existing well house that is off-site. Other projects would be a new well drilled directly on the new drinking water treatment plant site, and transmission mains between the well house 3 and water treatment plant project. The transmission mains are not part of this discussion today. Those have not gone to advertising. However, they are in the works for final design or have been completed for final design. So here's kind of just a little layout of the water plant. I'm not sure if it's been presented here yet. 6,000 square foot new building, mostly precast concrete with two 1,500 GPM gallon per minute pressure vessels for media filtration of well water from well house 3, which has supplied by 3 wells, as well as a new well on this drinking water plant site. Drive, it's right across from a school, so some thought was put into the site itself. This does not, with all the discussions on berming, this has berming, but it does not necessarily have a landscape plan. The city has elected to, for a lot of our drinking water projects, hire an outside source for the final landscaping, final seeding, prairie native grasses, things like that. So that is not included in this project, but this does have wetland considerations, some reuse of some of the existing excavation on the site for some of those below grade structures. So a berm on the south side of that site would provide plenty of visual impairment from the site. Now, this is not a 24, it's a 24/7 operation, but it's not 24 manned. It's a very pretty building. It will look very nice next to the school.
Madam Mayor, just one quick addition to that. The design of the building itself actually sort of mimics the school a little bit,
Yep.
so it blends in pretty nicely.
Yep, there was some intention by the architect to go view the school and kind of match materials and look.
Do you have a rendering with you?
I don't have a rendering on this. Sorry, I should have. I kind of thought for some reason it's been presented here since we already.
I think it was briefly.
Mayor, the council approved the land use application in April.
Yeah, and that's when you saw a picture of it.
Yeah, apologies. I should have had that in the appendix. I kind of thought because this was more bid award that we would focus more on the pricing. But there's background information, so please, if you have information related to the design, please let me know. I think we're good for the next slide. So, in an attempt to manage some sales tax exemptions to save the city some additional funds, we split the project actually into kind of 2 different bid packages. One for the filter vessels themselves to get a sales tax exemption, as well as a bid for the water plant and the installation of those pressure vessels. So those were bid separately, 2 separate packages. Kind of all fell under general same design. Nothing really changed. It was just a procurement package separate from a construction bid package. 2 bids were received for the pressure vessel procurement. The low apparent bidder at $1,913,331 to Curita America. Engineer's estimate was not presented at council, specifically split between the 2 projects. It was an all-encompassing between the 2 projects of $13.9 million. So splitting out a portion of that for this pressure vessel package, $2 million, it came right under that. Water treatment plant project was a very competitive bidding process, a lot of involvement from bidders. a lot of questions. It was really good to see for a project this size that we were able to receive 5 bids from bidders, with the low apparent bidder of a contractor that the city's familiar with, Rice Lake Construction, at $9,194,600, coming in under the estimate of around 11.9. So adding those two together is the 13.9. Adding the bids coming in would be $11,107,931. So those are the bids. So would be looking for a resolution to award those bids to those individual contractors. Then this slide here is related to AE2S's additional services for construction services, as well as additional services related to, as I said, the well 12. So the well 12 came about a year ago, awarding a contractor. Moving into drilling, they were actually, out 12 months, so we're actually much closer to drilling that well now. So it just made sense to bring this package with the water treatment plant construction services as well as the well discussion. Specific to the water treatment plant, we're requesting an amendment for 1.3 million, so $1,367,400. This would include construction administration, construction observation on site, post-construction and project closeout, as well as instrumentation and controls related to that drinking water project. For well 12, is kind of a two-part here. Some on-site construction services related to the well drilling and future pump and equipment installation, as well as a quote package development about a year from now, to size a pump and get a procurement package put together for putting a pump in that well. In addition, on this amendment request, we've have some additional services related to communications and marketing, prompted by the city to improve some public experiences for getting information on the city's website. The city requested us to put together a scope for a more in-depth website, a third-party website where we can populate with additional information, live mapping. If you want to go to the next slide, I've got a little bit more information on that. Story mapping, where it can show much more information related to the current projects the city is going through, with live mapping. You can put up videos and additional photos, set up alerts, set up areas for city residential commentary and things like that. So we've implemented this on several cities with really great success and a lot of good public feedback. City, when we went through it, they really liked the idea. So addition to this amendment would be a startup charge just to create the website. And then we would still need to work through if there's any long-term service maintenance contracts on that website in the future. But this would be kind of the startup, populating the existing projects, a couple of the more future projects, and getting that up and running. And then it's as simple as just putting a link on the city's website or QR codes or anything. You can kind of populate it however way you'd please. So kind of going into wrapping all this together, we've kind of broken down things typically as soft costs and construction costs when we're comparing it to what the city has budgeted through their capital improvement planning. You can kind of see a breakdown here of some of the projected soft costs, as well as some of the more set. So our design and bidding construction services costs would be a summation of our original contract, as well as this amendment, including the programming and I&C, which was included in that. Some budget set aside for Hawkinson Anderson, who's done a lot of the city's surveying and staking, as well as coming in after projects to do as-builds. Geotechnical special investigations from a geotechnical firm, security and IT equipment allowance for the city's IT to procure through a third party the installation of security equipment at the facility. Site seating and landscaping, as I said, would be a separate project through the city to get that accomplished after the construction period ends, as well as any miscellaneous legal and admin. So this is really just kind of budgetary numbers, as well as some hard numbers, including, in this amendment, alongside the low apparent bidders that we're looking for approval today, as well as a 5% contingency on construction for budgeting purposes. So an all-in total project cost right now of just over 13.9, which is coming in about 2 million under what current CIP is at for this project. It's not all bad news. The city has secured a large portion of funding through two sources. EPA's congressionally directed spending with a grant amount of 1.5 million. We're in the final stages of getting that approved, as well as emerging contaminants grant from Drinking Water Revolving Fund, which is to cover as part of a grant up to half of the non-EPA amount, which being that up to a maximum of 5 million. So being that it's over kind of 10 million outside of that 1.5, city's eligible for the max grant funding. And then the ability to loan through the SRF program the remaining balance. However, this only covers the water treatment plant, the well house upgrades, and the transmission main. This will not cover anything related to well 12. These funding packages do not cover growth-based projects. The drinking water plant is related to treatment, removing iron, manganese, and radium. Well 12 is a future growth development project. So they've been pretty explicit that we want those items pulled out. So that'd be engineering design, construction services, and any construction related projects related to that well 12. And then just a schedule here. So the three projects award today. Construction will actually start up pretty quickly here, potentially June, with a substantial completion in March of 2028. Well 12, as I said, drilling will start later this summer with some test pumping in the early fall. Being that this is right across from the school, we do have stipulations in that contract that any noticeable noise or construction activities, specifically blasting when they have to develop that well, would occur outside of the school season. So school, that location, I believe starts on September 1st. So that would be occurred before September 1st. Once we get some of that information, we'll develop a quote package to size that pump and get that installed before startup of that water plant in fall of 27. Transmission main through Hawkinson Anderson. They've developed their final design, likely bidding this fall into a construction season of next year. And with that, I will take any questions.
Ryan, I have a question on the website for your marketing and communication marketing. So you talk about Minnetrist and other cities that have used it. Is that so? It's $12,000, but and then there can be our website can link to this other website that takes them interactively using GIS. How long does that stay up? Like, what's the start end to this option, Adam?
Mayor, I think staff's idea of this was to kind of combine all of the different water treatment projects that the council's working on. So you have well house 4 that's active now, you have well house 3 that you're looking at tonight, and then the next one is the South Central water treatment plant. So kind of telling that story of all 3 of those and giving tools that are outside the capability of our website in terms of GIS, water modeling, things that will be more interactive for users of this website. It's not just a picture on our website, it's more involved than that. So again, our goal was to wrap up the whole vision of water treatment and tell that story as part of this development. So
okay, and I agree with that. It just, is there going to be additional funding after this
Yeah, there's some ongoing conversations into, okay, what's the development look like? And that's part of what you're paying for in terms of this contract amendment. And then where can our staff or internal resources step in and make some of those updates to what's out there? Or are we looking at ongoing costs? And again, this isn't something that will be out there forever, as these treatment plants come on board, but South Central specifically is probably out in the 28, 29 as far as finished product. So looking at a multi-year project here.
Okay. And Ben's looked at all of this for IT to make sure.
Yeah,
Great.
It's not hosted on the city website. It's more of a communication coordination between utility staff and communication staff and aid to us. So
Okay.
Yeah, and Madam Mayor, once we create the site, it's the city's to own. So it's GIS Storybook. So if the city was to acquire a license for GIS Storybook, they own all rights to this page, this product. So if the city was to take on any long-term maintenance or updating future transmission main projects, any road work construction happening, that all could be populated within this product.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to, not buy something that only gives us a little small piece if there's bigger things we can add to this.
yeah, and we did discuss this at Public Works Subcommittee. So Councilmember Dunlap or Lund, if you want to comment either. So,
No, Madam Mayor, I'll just say that, yeah, I agreed with, there will probably be something that we have to do in the future to maintain it, whether that's with staff. Ron mentioned that he has or could have the ability to do some of the changes. We could probably even get our communications department to work through some of the changes. But I think when we talked about our goal setting, being able to communicate more effectively about what projects are going on. I mean, water is not sexy. So the ability to get out there and show the public where that money is going and what is being developed, I think is a huge step in the right direction. I know we kind of threw around a bunch of ideas in the Public Works Subcommittee about, can we kind of show how the water is now, being cleaned, what area that affects and things like that. There is a whole bunch of stuff that you can do, but I think this is just the first step of kind of getting the framework there. So I do support it.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, right.
maybe a question for you two. When I see something like this, I'm like, yay, it's cool. But then I'm thinking, future dollars are going to be put towards this. Does it make it simpler than what it is now, do you think?
For the communication part on the user end, which is a residence, it should. Yeah, that's the goal, is that it's been very successful in the other communities that they've installed the system in, is that on the user end, they can click on it, they go to the link, they can dive as far deep into understanding the water systems of the information that we have them populate in there, and then the capability of us utilizing it potentially in the future, independent or in collaboration with them, is a good pro. Or you pivot to something else at a later point in time. This is the initial fee to get the communication going, and which has been a critical component to the residents and especially around the water conversation and improving our water quality.
I'm all for that, but I just worry we're spreading ourselves thin. So we just got to keep that in mind with taking on another endeavor like this.
Does it track? I don't know if it's a question for you two or you, Ryan. Ryan. Does it track the kind of traffic that we would get on the website? Okay.
Yep. Good. Absolutely. So, I appreciate the question, Madam Mayor, but, yeah, we actually spoke about, we've had separate discussions, with, I think it's Heidi, who does a lot of your communications. Yeah. So we walked through with Heidi as well as, city utility manager, Kurt, on kind of some of the goal of what this infrastructure would look like. Yeah, you can track clicks, you can track how many people view the page. You can get as many metrics from these types of services as you could probably think of. clicks as to even, if it's some sort of GIS map, where they're zooming in on and things like that. So there's a lot of data in a software or a type of program like this. There's just a lot you can really do from it. It's shareable, like I said, a QR link. I know some of the conversations that we had with Heidi and Kurt was that I think the communication side within the city is stretched thin. So the ability to update anything to this extent of infrastructure would be challenging through your current website. It just makes it tough in the current format of the city's website. In addition, this website's all the ADA. There's new ADA compliance for city websites. Everything on Story Map is ADA compliant as well. So we'll be following all guidelines and regulations.
I mean, obviously we talked extensively at the council of being more critical of ourselves to making sure that we're getting more communication out to our residents. And so that's why I just want to make sure that we're not just putting something up that isn't measurable or isn't like, if everybody's looking for this one thing, that means that we haven't communicated that story. So we need to then take that information and get that out to the residents somehow. So
Yep. I think eventually it's just, what do you want it to look like? It's could try to duplicate the city's website formatting, or you can try to create a new type of product. It really can do, whatever you want. And I'm by no means the creative type when it comes to marketing and communications. So I would leave that to the other teammates within our company, and they are incredible. They can do a lot within a very short period of time. They've done this for many other cities in tough situations like Woodbury with some of that forever chemicals, and it's been a very valuable tool for communication and just communications with their residents.
No, thank you. Yeah.
Madam Mayor, I was just going to say, at the end of the day, a resident calls you, they're like, when am I getting good water? I want to be able to have like a timeline that says, here's when we had tough things going on, and here's this timeline.
Yeah, and those are the types of things that within the current city's website, we've had a challenge of how to describe that. A website like this, you can create a Gantt chart, or a living, we can give a lot more information in a more digestible way.
So if somebody, I think maybe a question to help clarify, if somebody like goes to the GIS website and they're looking at their home and they click it, it connects them to some sort of, this is the water treatment facility that will be built that will service your area, or that will be approved upon, or something like that. Is that?
Yeah, I appreciate the question.
No?
It gets a little bit more complicated than that. We do a lot of the city's hydraulic modeling, but to actually get like a water blending analysis would be a separate endeavor. So a lot of that would be more kind of judgment calls. But we can create a map, and it can have a pinpoint and say, this is roughly where the limits of disturbance will be. This is what the project, this brings you to this separate page, describes the project, describes the timeline. If you want to populate drone photos or drone flyovers, if you want to populate, we're coming here for construction services amendment. So if you want to populate some of my staff's RPR photos, on-site photos of concrete pours, things like that, this is kind of the one-stop shop where you can kind of populate all of that, which it's challenging in kind of the city's HTML format, where you just got a bunch of photos and a list. This can you can make flip books, you can do whatever you want done here. It's just more digestible. Doing other things like that, unfortunately, would be a additional service.
Got it. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
We do have those maps that show, when water treatment plant number 4 goes in, where the treated water can reach to. When we put in water treatment plant number 3, how far it extends again. And then when you put into South Central, they have maps that show.
Yeah, we've made maps, but we'd have to look. I'd have to see where they're at, to be honest. We did some blending analysis, but I can't promise they're at the state that you're picturing. But
but we can, I'd have to look back.
Yeah, they may need
That wasn't,
A stationary photo and people can identify roughly where they are, I think is
yeah,
probably just fine. I was just wondering.
Yeah, I think once South Central is in, plus the other two in the west, that you're pushing water down to the lower area in the east, that will have, most of the city covered, especially during the winter when the amount of water that's required to keep up with the city needs. In the summer, it becomes more of a challenge to keep up. And then some of the eastern water, it may not be fully treated as much as it would be in the west, just because of the locations of the treatment facilities as they're going in. Sooner or later, of course, the whole city will be using treated water.
The whole city that's on the system.
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what- I want that, because sometimes people get a little confused by that, so.
Yeah, and I think, Madam Mayor, it would be good to get feedback on that. And we can create the website without publicly posting anything. We can share the QR code with this council before it's shared with anyone else. And we can make tweaks before it goes live. So if there's information like that, that would be beneficial to the community, it's easy enough to implement at any time, easier to do it before it goes live.
Sure, great. Yeah, I would think that we would all like to take a look at it before it goes live, so we're not sent an email or a question as we're out and we haven't even seen this, or else it went live at the same time. So yeah, you could share it with us, that would be great.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, correct.
One question I had, because I not really been part of the water thing much last couple of years, but regarding the construction services amendment, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. Yep. Which portion related to the water plant?
Yeah, I guess page 6 or slide 6.
Yeah, so this is construction services amendment maybe isn't the best way to word this. I would say that this is as a engineering agreement amendment that includes construction services. So construction services is included for the drinking water treatment plant, as well as some work related to the well. In addition to this amendment would be the communications and the INC controls and programming. So is there something specific that you'd like me to break down scope wise, or?
No, I just wanted to hear a little bit more about it, and so in this scenario, like we would have a plus or minus, right, for ongoing work if we need to make changes. Is that how that works? A fluff sort of.
Yeah, we don't we haven't in the past. Probably not a horrible idea, but we've never in the past established a contingency related to our services.
Okay.
We always establish a contingency, or at least Adam does a good job of ensuring a contingency is established for the construction work. But related to our services, fortunately, I would, I say it pretty proudly, we've had very little needs, over budget needs
Sure.
amendments with the city related to kind of services that were scoped improperly. I say that we had one recently, but
and this one's under budget anyways at this point, right?
Well, our agreement's only through design.
Okay.
So this would be the amendment to continue our services to provide the services for now the construction phase. That's kind of the way we've done it. I don't know if we've really ever done it a different way with the city. To be honest, it's the more ideal way to do our projects when we give you a price day one and construction doesn't happen for 2.5 years. It's really hard to stand by that price if anything changes in design. This is a more surefire way to say that we've scoped our design properly, and now we've scoped our construction services based on that design. In addition, knowing the contractor helps. Who's actually getting awarded the project? Is it Joe Blow, or is it, a more prominent contractor in the area? That very much can affect our level of effort when it comes to construction. Okay. So yeah, this is a well thought out fee related to the current design, contractor being awarded, and everything in between.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to have that background, so I appreciate that. Or who's
Madam Mayor.
with our,
Oh.
thanks. Who within the city or has oversight over that? Is it Ron and Kirk over the project itself?
Right. It's been Kurt and Adam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, this is common practice for design firms, if they're gonna provide administrative services on projects for construction administrative services, that you don't do that at the time of awarding for design. It's normally separate.
Okay. I appreciate it.
No, that's
Just trying to understand it.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? And we have 3 motions in front of us.
Madam Mayor,
Right.
I move to adopt resolution 2026-43, accepting bids and awarding contract to Rice Lake Construction Group for the Wellhouse Number 3 Water Treatment Plant project in the amount of $9,194,600.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Ryan, seconded by Michelle. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move to adopt resolution 2026-44, accepting bids and awarding contract to Carita America, Inc. for the pressure vessel system procurement in the amount of $1,913,331.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, seconded by Tina. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Ryan.
I move to approve the amendment to owner engineer agreement amendment number 1, a professional services contract amendment in the amount of $1,445,700 with Advanced Engineering and Environmental Services LLC.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, seconded by Tina. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Council.
Great. Next item is item 6.1 that Ryan pulled item 3.3 down.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I oppose this action because our city is able to receive excellent service from our existing contract providers at a price point that is cost efficient for the taxpayer. If approved, the total cost for owning a fire department will increase to $21,790,713.70, an amount that would have covered 15 years of fire service contracts.
Motion. Corey?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve pay application number 17 in the amount of $1,131,856.64 for work completed on the fire station project.
Second.
Motion by Corey, seconded by Tina. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1. All right, we are under city council reports and updates. First item is heritage preservation. Corey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm gonna validate with Dan here, but our next meeting, the date got moved and we also couldn't take advantage of the tour this last meeting because of the parking lot work going on at the fire station. So it's June 10th?
Correct.
At 6.
Yep.
Mayor, they'll tour the fire station at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Interim Chief Scott said it's advantageous because all the furniture will be in and it'll be essentially complete at that point. So they'll get to see it finished.
This, the last meeting we had was a lot of fun because we had the time capsule and the ladies were putting the different stuff in the time capsule and trying to stuff it all in there. So
Did it fit?
Barely.
Was a time capsule that's like duct taped up.
No, they actually assemble it with screws and
Oh, okay.
everything. Yeah.
So I think at some point they would like to have it put in up here at the Prairie Center in the glass, but I don't know if they necessarily want to have a public thing about it. Maybe just a picture with the mayor.
Okay.
So
I gave him an iPhone. That was my contribution.
It made it in there.
All right, good, good.
Thank you.
All right, next is Park and Recreation. Michelle.
We had a great turnout for the Touch a Truck event. That was the most recent event. The most recent meeting was canceled. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's it.
Perfect. Next, Planning Commission, Ryan.
Madam Mayor, the commission met last week recommending approval on items that we discussed earlier tonight. The next planning commission meeting is scheduled for June 15th.
Next is Public Safety, Tina.
Public safety, lots going on. We'll skip to the captains. There were approximately 27 captains, not narrowed down to 9 that were interviewed. I don't know what it came down to, Adam, but that was on the 14th. I know things have updated since then. Discussed a lot about the part-time fire volunteers coming on, when training will be, what they'll be starting with. We're looking for eventually here soon a fire marshal. One is needed, so that is something that we'll be looking for eventually soon. Let's see, fire station progress. Start up on all the equipment Monday, May 18th, which is passed. Asphalt lift and stripe for in, that's done. So if you haven't been over there, the parking lot's in, all the landscaping's in. We're going to start meeting over there in June. So our first meeting in June will be at the fire station for public safety. Let's see, the trucks are done. Pierce, they're done. They're going out in July. The trucks will be delivered. They're going out to do an inspection, and then they'll be delivered in July. And of course, Jim will be going out, our new fire chief, along with interim Mike Scott, Greg, and I believe Larry might be going as well too.
All right, we're still under City Council reports and updates. Does anyone have anything? Okay. Moving on to staff reports and updates. Adam.
Mayor, thank you. Longtime park maintenance foreperson, Pat. His last day will be this Friday. So if you run into him before then, make sure to give him some well wishes. City Hall work, carpet and furniture installation is ongoing this week. So a little disruptive over there on the second floor, but things are moving along nicely. And then active recruitments for park supervisor and park maintenance positions are currently available on the city website. So nothing further.
Thank you. Audra?
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a little bit of an update regarding campaign finance reports that we have on the city's website. There was some recent legislative action, and right now staff has taken down all the campaign reports as we figure out how to redact the required information that is no longer available.
What was the changes?
The addresses for what people put on the reports. We'll find out more next, tomorrow we have training with Wright County. So they'll maybe give us a little more information on what we need to actually redact.
So like our addresses were on the thing and they're not allowed anymore?
That's what we'll find out a little bit more about. But Wright County also did the same thing. They took them down and we have 6 months to get them back up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So someone sued somebody.
I don't have the background. We just took the direction that Wright County provided us.
Okay.
Okay, strange because it's public information.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you would
Think it's out.
think
been up
that
there
it
for
would,
years.
it's been out there for years, so you would know all the information. Okay. Well,
Thank you.
keep us updated.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Dave is online.
I have nothing to report. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay. Dan.
Mayor, nothing to report.
Ron.
Just a couple project updates on the mill and overlay project. They are pretty much done with all the low density areas or the non-water and sewer areas. They'll be out for probably till June 15th while the city performs sanitary sewer rehab on the urban areas. That's an area around Target, 76th Street and Pheasant Ridge 5th. And the tri-home area, Prairie Creek, 2nd, 4th, and 6th. That's on the corner of Quad A and 42. We are also doing about 100 linear feet of curb replacement for some poor areas. So during that time, that contractor will be performing that work also. And then Lily Pond, just an update on that park that it's moving along. It's at schedule or ahead, so moving on quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason Almans.
All right, I'll try to rapid fire them off quick here.
You don't have to do that, remember.
Well, when you have the list that I have,
Okay.
trust me. Gas prices, so interesting. Well, I know, happy topic. So when gas prices get up there like they are right now, people that want to steal gas get creative on how they can kind of manipulate the gas stations. Obviously, most of them, if not all of them in the county, including Otsego, have switched to some sort of either prepayment or having to come inside prior to, or just simply pay at the pump. We find all sorts of different weird stuff. There's we're waiting to find out what the next trend is going to be from a criminal aspect of it. So, whether, obviously people know about, the card skimmers and different RFID scanning techniques. Are they going to be using some sort of fraudulent activity inside the store to have gas approved, $20 at a pump, and then they go steal $20 somehow, or credit card declinations. And so there's all sorts of stuff that will end up happening. I'm just curious what that is going to be. So it's kind of a wait and find out, and hopefully the gas stations can kind of pick up on that quick. But like I said, when gas prices get like this, weird stuff happens, especially when it comes to those diesel. A lot of stuff happens with diesel, probably more so when it comes to the creativity on stuff than gasoline. So we will see how that goes. We'll try to be updated on that. As you can tell by weather today, it's summer. So a lot of things that are going to be coming with that. I always had my spiel of please lock your stuff because it's coming. It happens every single time it gets nice out, where people are going to be roaming around stealing stuff out of cars if your car doors are unlocked. And if you have garage door openers inside of your unlocked car, people are going to take advantage of that. That has been a trend now for 10 plus years. It's constantly happening, and it happens literally all across any suburb, any city, any city in the state. It happens in Becker, it happens in Otsego, it happens in Minnetonka, it happens everywhere. So people take advantage of where we live and take advantage of people feeling comfortable. With that, the deputies will, on occasion, and this is up to them individually, if they want to drive around in the middle of the night with all their lights on, so to speak. And when I say lights, they're white scene lights is what they're called. So traditionally, if you were to consider some 1980s movies, you got the spotlight kind of thing, and that was really the only white light to search for people, so to speak. We still have those. However, the way Guardian sets up our squad cars now is if there's a light on our squad car that is a flashing emergency light, they also have a program that we can turn it white. So it's just basically a big floodlight. So when you look at our squad cars, look at every single light is on there. Each one has the ability to turn into like an individual spotlight. And so we call them scene lights. And so on occasion, the deputies do like to drive through neighborhoods, parks, etc. with all of that going. It lights things up pretty crazily. So that's not necessarily we are looking for something specific. It may just be the deputy wants to have some extra light to see or simply be seen by somebody that's out and about. So something to not necessarily be alarmed of. Some people do call like, hey, why are there squad cars driving out with all their lights? Who are they looking for, so to speak? Like, we're just looking for anything and everything, so to speak. Again, that is up to the individual deputy. If that's how they want to do their strategy and drive around the entire 12-hour shift with their lights on, more power to them. If the deputy simply wants to come through and they turn it on and off as they go by a park or a certain area of interest, great. So something to be aware of. That being said, again, I've always encouraged, the squad cars getting off the beaten path instead of just taking, as much as we have traffic issues on all traffic complaints at this time of year with everybody opening their windows, we get the complaints County Road 19, County Road 39, tons of complaints that are happening on both those roads. So the deputies try to get out there and hammer that. At the same time, the issues that we see during the summer are things that happened on 77th Street or on Rawlings Avenue or Parkington. That's where we're seeing. So we're trying to balance that, or we're trying to handle the traffic complaints, but we also want to balance that with getting into the neighborhoods. So I would like to encourage them to make sure they are getting out into the neighborhoods, as well as get on the parks, go drive on the trails. We'll deal with Nick Jacobs being frustrated with us if we, run over grass or something like that in the park. I can go apologize to him. He's been pretty understanding with some of that stuff. So you will see them out on the paths. You will see them on the parks, especially at night, because that's where we're having the issues. Finally, as far as the summer stuff goes, I did get a report from one of our supervisors that is in charge of our water patrol. They have somebody scheduled pretty much the entire summer for every single day, weekend or not. Somebody should be on in some capacity for water patrol, which is a big deal for response times. Obviously, we have a ton of lakes, especially on the west side of the county. I think we have 290 lakes in the county that are named. Sorry, I'm testing myself. I should know that. So yeah, we have a ton of lakes in the county, so we got to do the patrol side of things, but as well as it's really nice to have those guys with the expertise of all the equipment and everything like that to be out and about for water emergencies and stuff that may come up. So some of the other things on my list are kind of boring, unless you guys really want to hear about probable cause forms and how we interact with those on weekends. No, that's pretty boring, but exciting for the deputies, but not for you.
Is it something new for you guys, or?
It's just a form that we are eliminating 78% of the time.
Oh, yay.
It's very exciting.
That is exciting.
It is.
Yes.
So,
yay.
So it was on my list, and I was like, that's more for the deputies, not for city council. So, so that is all I have, unless you have any questions.
All right. Does anyone have anything? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Thank you. All right. If no one else has anything, then a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second. Well, that was close. I'd say it was motion by Tina, seconded by Corey. We both said at the same time. So. Michelle, you heard it. All right. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The meeting is ended. Thank you all for attending this evening.